you're playing Tidehunter this game, and the first thing to do in the game, like during the draft or in the preparation time, is to identify what lane you're playing against and who you're playing with. So the lane you're playing against is Gyrocopter Witch Doctor, which is probably one of the best lanes against Tidehunter. And you have Rubik Tidehunter, who are pretty good at playing a lane for even. You can spam the wave in with Vadebolt and Anchor Smash. I think the first problem is like you should be playing this lane for CS. Like you can't really aggro on them because Witch Doctor is such a strong hero. And you should play so that like they can't burst you and kill your Maledict. So I think not having a Quang Blade is sort of a problem because you should be focusing on CS, and you should start with a stick too. Also, I think like in this meta, like starting with this much region between your two heroes is sort of iffy because everyone has a courier now, and so like Rubik maybe should start a stick as well and only like Tango Salve or something. And that way, like, you guys can just focus on spamming the wave in and playing your game. You got the Fairy Fire, which is good, but you want, like, Fairy Fire and Stick versus Maledict because of how the spell works, right?
Yeah.
If it depends on what it goes on you. If you use your heal, it's, like, doubled in value. So immediately when the wave begins, you have the lane right now, and you know they're over here because it kills your Rubik and Fed, but what you should do is you should pull the 3 melee creeps onto your range creep right away. Like, you can just look mid or in the offlane, and just aggro off a hero in vision, right?
Yeah.
So if you look here, right when this wave meets, you could have stood right here, and then pulled the 3 onto range creep, and this would have given you a range creep deny before they even got to the lane. So instead you get this melee deny, but because it's slower, like they get EXP for it, and I mean range creeps are just worth more. The other thing about this lane is like, since you're playing ominously in a lot of lanes, you should be looking to establish equilibrium before the lane. So if you put onto range creep, you denied that early, you potentially could have gotten the lane back up here, and then Rubik would have had a very simple job. Like all he has to do is prevent them from pulling this camp. Instead, like the lanes here, it's like not easy for Rubik to play, and then they can harass you a lot here.
Makes sense. I thought they was. I mean, it was a mistake by me, but I thought that the gyro was gonna play like the like classic gyro thing where he just maxes flak and just farms, which is why I bought like a ring of regen. But that was a mistake. he maxes.
You brought the Quelling Blade, which is good. And I think going for, I'm not too sure about going for an early hood right now. Honestly, I don't really know what you're supposed to do on Tidehunter right now, but I know Helm is really popular. Like just help, but hood looks really good this game because they have 5 magical damage heroes, so it honestly looks pretty good. The thing is like, if you had gotten the lane, like this is the entire laning stage to me. Like once I see it change like this, where you didn't get the lane equilibrium when you could have, and then now they have access to the pull, like it's hard to talk about the lane more. Because this lane should be up here, and you should just be farming and getting your Ring of Health. Instead, like your Rubik's like sort of messing with them here, but not really preventing pulls, and then they're just killing him, and then like you're having to like walk away from the lane. Which honestly, that was pretty good for you guys. I don't know what your communication is like before lanes, because like I mean this is just like a battle cup with friends, right? So
like the 4 of us are like playing on a NA team, but the 4 players like a stand-in because our 4 is
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so usually how it works is like it's good to try to find ways to establish like a common ground for laning. Like talk about how you want to play the lane, right? Like for example, like I want to get the lane back here, and then you stop him from pulling. If you say simple stuff like that, like maybe Rubik won't be like trying to deward this camp, because like imagine like you're in this position, but they don't have the stack pull, and your Rubik's just stopping this camp from spawning. All of a sudden, you're 1v1ing a Gyrocopter, who you will get pretty much every last hit against, and you'll feel really comfortable under your tower. So I guess the other problem that happened here is like when you let it push in this far, and they have a stack, like it's pretty hard to play, because like normally you should just be able to keep the wave here, and they shouldn't be able to pull it. Like a stacked easy camp in the first like couple minutes is pretty GG in laning. Like it's not something that should happen actually. And you can also think of like your game plan this game. I think something else that would have been interesting is like if you understood you could get this lane here and they could you could block this camp with Rubik. Rubik also would have been able to focus on the runes and the camps. Because when the lane's here and there's no camps, like as an offlaner, you have the ability to just say like, I'm fine here, right? Like they can't do anything to me. And this is like different than if the lane's up here, because when the lane's up here, they have such a long distance where they can go on you. Other than that, like I don't think you'll be able to talk about that much in laning. It's like laning to me is about like understanding what plan you have to do and then trying to execute it. there's stuff like you can go into like a lobby and practice last hitting or use like a last hit trainer. I think those are really important. And there's concepts like pulling onto a range creep or how to double wave your opponent or like when you should use like your creep advantage, stuff like that. But most of laning is actually very conceptually focused because laning's one of the only things in Dota that happen every single game. So that means like if you watch a replay and something happens in lane, it's easy to take that and apply it to the next game. If you take another mistake in Dota, like, oh, I pressed my spell wrong here, or we shouldn't have been in this position, it's hard to like extrapolate that data into learning because there's so many factors in Dota that make the game complicated. Do you know how the cooldown on aggro works?
Not like I can explain it to you, but I can do it.
Okay, so it's 500 range around your hero.
Yeah.
And you aggro for 2.5 seconds, and there's a 3-second cooldown on aggro.
Okay.
So if you aggro melee creeps and they follow you, maybe it's easier if I just show you this because it's sort of hard to conceptualize. So what should have happened at the start of that lane is they're not there yet. So you look somewhere else, like I'm looking at this lich, and then you aggro off him, right? And you pull it into range, and then you'll be able to get this range creep deny. Like that's the normal one, right? The other thing that should happen is that you should understand like aggro. So when I aggro it, if you look at this, if something else hitting it, they'll stop following me for a bit. Like I don't know if that's happened to you a lot. So
yeah,
you have to do is when you aggro,
right?
Yeah, you have to hit and then you re-aggro, right?
Yeah.
And you re-aggro, and you can keep following it down. You can chain the aggro downwards. It is really useful because when you do this, it also makes it so that your creeps don't get hit, so you can build a really big wave. It's like if you've played with Earthshakers, like what they do is they fissure twice, and then their third fissure, they'll fissure the creeps off so that their creeps aren't getting hit by the enemy melee creeps. And then they build like a bigger wave that way because their creeps are taking less damage. If you play any sort of lanes, it's about getting 2v1s in lane. So basically, if you get the lane here, what happened there was, for example, on one of these Rubik kills, was that they were able to get a 2v1 on your Rubik because of where the lane position was. So because this lane is pushed in, like it's easy for them to connect to here. So if you can create scenarios like this in lane where, say, Witch Doctor walked here right now, like you and Rubik could 2v1 him this way. But right now, like where he is, it's easy for Gyrocopter to connect because the Rubik's out of position compared to you. So if the lane was over here and you're over here, Rubik actually has to position like further out or behind you. So let's skip ahead past the laning phase because at this point, like after a couple of deaths, like 3 deaths in the lane, I don't think you're looking to win the lane anymore. He only has 14 CS actually, which is really low. So you guys are actually doing okay in this lane, but I feel like he's just playing bad, to be honest.
Yeah, he kind of was. They were like, they just wanted to kill us over and over again and like didn't really.
I see. Yeah, he went like 2-2-0. I mean, he's definitely crazy. But for the most part, like you've done a really good job like getting the lane here. It's just it wasn't coordinated with your Rubik that you guys also need to stop the pulls. Like this pull here, like if you guys stop this pull, then you're gonna keep the lane here, and you're gonna be able to like kill the siege wagon, and your Rubik's able to leave you to get stacks and stuff. But them getting this pull means that the wave is gonna, like, if he's good, he's gonna reset the lane down to here, and like this gank will be hard to happen. And then, I mean, you guys killed him anyways, and they TP'd, which I don't know why, but they did.
I don't think they were the highest of MMRs.
Okay.
That's why they picked like some 5 magic damage lineup in Balco. I still fed though. You know how I'll be.
Yeah, I mean, if he goes this build, like you're gonna die on Tidehunter, right? But what it comes down to is basically just like finding a way to keep the lane here. Because right now, like honestly, they don't really have that many pulls. This might be big here. Like you should try not to pull this into tower because you want to keep the next wave here, right? If you watch this next wave is gonna push to like here.
I was a little afraid because they were like Witch Doctor was like playing up and my Rubik was in there. But
I mean, I feel like you can try to force them to do it to you, right? Because you should understand like your win rate has TP.
Yeah.
And if you press alt in the game, you can see all your teammates TP, so you can see what happens there. It is a 5-second TP, which is sort of spooky, but you can also do stuff like you drag it here, you eat a tree and you just like dance around in the side. Like you can take pass and they can sort of go on you, but it's not more risky over here than it is in your tower, honestly. They're not really going to be able to kill you over here.
I've never
especially
played
like you have hood and everything.
That's a cool idea.
But basically, you would have stayed here, and then maybe these supports, instead of coming to like a lane that's really hard, they could have rotated to your strong heroes, right? Because right now, like your Morphling and Wind Ranger are really strong, And the idea should be to like figuring out how to use that strength. Whether it's like they go to mid and then you TP in and you ravage mid, you should have some idea. Instead, like this sort of works out, but like not really. Like you guys are bringing 3 heroes and you kill a 5 position, and then your Windrunner is like getting pressured mid. Instead, like we can see like something like these 2 supports are playing here and they have, you can't draw on the map anymore, huh? Like they smoke towards mid, you pressure this tower, and then you can even understand like Gyrocopter has no TP score, and all of a sudden this tower is dead, and then you get to farm your ancient stack and you're like back in the game or something. I want to watch this from their safe lane perspective actually, because I think that's important for offlaner. Because I think like if you played versus better people, like this lane with how it started and not getting the equilibrium, like it should have been like some 100 to 0 thing. So first they get first blood, right? Which is really good. So right now Gyrocopter has this much gold. Instead of rushing a Falcon Blade, he should just rush treads because it's a stronger timing. So they come in here. First of all, like this is really bad from them because they understand that they killed your Rubik and he's not going to be in lane for a while. So if they come here, they have a free 2v1 that we were talking about earlier, right?
Yeah.
So right now they should like do something to remove all your regen. Like they should use a rocket, they should click you, and they should just hit you until Rubik shows back up. Like force the Rubik to have to TP, which he will anyways, but you should do it. So the other thing that happens is in this lane, I feel like they're going on to Rubik when they should just be hitting you. Like if you look here, like if they just missoed and maledicted you instead of Rubik, I feel like you're gonna feel really bad in this lane. Because they're just gonna slowly burn the regen off the core. Like there's no point going on support if they're like back. If the support's over here and sort of isolate and they can force a 2v1 for some, then that's when like the Gyrocopters start rocketing. It's like when the supports are fighting on the side. But if you're like in lane, you might as well just go into core. This is fine. It's the same thing. Like their lane is stronger than you, so they should just feel like they can stay together and hit you. Because they're gonna out harass you, right? They have 2 range heroes. And then they should keep going on you, and when you're low, Gyrocopter gets to like free farm basically. Also, if you had like the Elven skin and maybe a bit better CSing, like he should have a very early treads this game. What they did well was that they got this pull, this stack, and then they were able to use it by pushing this in. I mean, I don't think he should ever take 2 a missile and a carry Gyrocopter here. But this pull item was like the best thing they did. And yeah, I don't know what to talk about for this.
That's fine. Yeah, okay, so basically like this lane should have gone way worse for me, basically.
Yeah, based on the start and just the heroes, and I think like the items you guys started with, I think it's hard for you guys. Also, like not starting with a stick versus Tidehunter, like the reason why he has to go Falcon Blade is because he didn't buy a stick at level 1. Like no one's buying sticks.
I don't ever like I tend not to actually buy sticks against heroes that like spamming a lot.
Like super spammy? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't necessarily need the stick on Tide, I would say, this game. Like in the first items, but I think you do need the Quelling Blade. And then personally, I would buy both. Like I just buy 1 set regen, stick Quelling Blade, some branches, maybe a Fairy Fire. I don't know how the gold works, and then have like Fairy out 1 more set of regen and have my Rubik use his Salve on me. Because like you might have to spam regen in this lane, and in lanes that you need to spam regen, you want to have as many base items as possible, if that makes sense. Like regen makes your net worth, like I don't know how to describe, like regen makes your net worth more effective. Like if you spend a solve on a 1,000 gold hero, it's better than spending it on like a 600 net worth hero. So you want the base item. It's like why I actually don't know how to explain it. It's like, have you seen Undyings buy boots at level 1 on position 5?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
Okay, like a lot of it is because Undyings have to spam a lot of regen, so if they don't buy boots at level 1, like they're never gonna get to their first big item. So in this lane, like you can trade all your gold and regen for full EXP, and like you would come out happy in this lane basically.
Yeah, I thought I would have to spam regen in this lane, which is why I bought like the double taggers, because I thought they were just gonna like, because what you said that they would just like click me and stuff. I thought that was what was gonna happen, so I bought a lot.
I guess for me, the thing about 6 tangles in the offlane is that you're never gonna eat more than 3 tangles before your first courier comes to you.
That's fair.
So the other option for you this lane is like you can buy less and you can just rush the Ring of Health, right? Which, I mean, this idea with the Ring of Regen is it's not bad. It's just they should have punished it a bit.
Yeah.
And like in this lane, the other thing is like I don't think you guys ever fade boated both of them, which was really weird. I didn't even notice, but how this lane works, you guys definitely weren't. Like you guys should be using your spells together to get a lot of minus damage so they can't get last hits. It's like that's the strength of Rubik Tide, right? So if you see here, like when Rubik comes in, instead of positioning on the left side, he should walk over to the right. So Witch Doctor wants to hit him, he has to walk to like here, and then he gets a double fade bow on both of them. But if he positions on the left, like they're always going to be 1v1ing. So the Gyro Cutter and the Witch Doctor are never going to be beside each other.
Or how to think about the equilibrium at the start of the lane.
I think the big thing about equilibrium, how you should think about it, is that having the equilibrium gives you options. Yeah. Like if you have the lane with the equilibrium back here, you have more opportunity to go on them. You have more opportunity for your support to leave. You have more opportunity to like build a double wave on them. It just like allows you to have the options to make the plays in Dota, which is what you want, right? Like you want to be able to make the correct decisions. But the lanes like here, your support sort of has to stay with you, and you sort of have to like keep spamming it in because you're not gonna farm otherwise. And also like Tower Aura is really strong right now, so yeah, that's pretty much it. And also, I guess the other thing I did mention, like, I mean I mentioned it, but you guys need to just use your spells together more, like just some Fade Bolt Anchor Smash stuff.
Yeah.